The late afternoon sun hung low over Elmwood, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement outside the diner where Jack Thompson flipped burgers. The air inside was thick with the greasy scent of frying meat and the hum of an overworked exhaust fan. Sweat beaded on Jack's forehead as he pressed a spatula against a sizzling patty, his calloused hands moving with practiced precision. At 38, his broad shoulders carried more than just the weight of the day's orders. They bore the burden of a life stretched thin by endless shifts and unpaid bills. Behind the counter, his 8-year-old daughter Lily scribbled multiplication tables in a worn notebook, her dark curls falling over her eyes. She glanced up, her voice small but hopeful. "Dad, can I have a milkshake?" Jack forced a smile, though his chest tightened with guilt. "Not today, kiddo. Maybe tomorrow." Tomorrow was always the promise he couldn't keep. Lily nodded, returning to her homework, and Jack turned back to the grill, the hiss of the meat a bitter reminder of how little he could provide. Outside, the sleepy town of Elmwood buzzed with its usual rhythm, cars rolling lazily down Main Street, neighbors chatting over picket fences. But that rhythm shattered when a plume of black smoke erupted from the apartment building across the road. Shouts pierced the air, sharp and frantic. Jack dropped the spatula and ran to the window, his heart pounding as he saw flames licking the upper floors. A crowd gathered, pointing and gasping. Then he saw her, a woman at a third-story window, her hands banging against the glass, her face a mask of terror. Instinct took over. Jack tore off his apron and bolted outside, the heat hitting him like a wall as he neared the building. Sirens wailed in the distance, too far off to matter. The fire escape dangled precariously, its rusted bolts barely holding. He climbed, the metal groaning under his weight, each step a gamble against collapse. Smoke stung his eyes and clawed at his throat, but he pushed upward, the woman's desperate cries driving him on. When he reached her window, he smashed it with his elbow, glass shattering like a gunshot. She was coughing, her body limp against the sill. "Hold on to me," Jack yelled, his voice hoarse. He pulled her out, her weight heavy in his arms as they descended. The fire roared behind them, a beast snapping at their heels. His lungs burned, his vision blurred, and a sharp pain stabbed his chest. Halfway down, his legs buckled, but he gritted his teeth and kept going, step by agonizing step. They hit the ground just as the crowd surged forward, hands reaching to help. Jack stumbled, the woman slipping from his grasp. He heard Lily scream his name, "Dad!" and then the world went black. He woke to the sterile beep of a hospital monitor, the air cold and antiseptic. Pain radiated from his chest, and his limbs felt like lead. Lily sat beside him, her small hands clutching his, her eyes red and swollen. "You're awake," she whispered, relief breaking through her fear. "What happened?" Jack rasped, his throat raw. "You saved that lady, but you collapsed," Lily said. "The doctor said your heart's sick." A doctor entered, his expression grim. "Mr. Thompson, you've got a severe heart condition, congestive heart failure. You've been pushing yourself too hard and it's caught up with you. You need surgery soon or—" He didn't finish, but the silence said enough. Jack's mind reeled. Surgery meant money he didn't have, time he couldn't afford to lose. He'd been ignoring the warning signs, shortness of breath, dizzy spells, because stopping wasn't an option, not with Lily depending on him. Since her mother vanished 6 years ago, it had been just the two of them scraping by on diner, wages and odd jobs. Now, staring at the ceiling tiles, despair settled in like a heavy fog. How could he leave Lily alone? The door creaked open, and a woman stepped in, tall, with ash-streaked blonde hair and a hesitant smile. "Hi, Jack, I'm Sarah. I just wanted to thank you. You saved my life." Jack nodded weakly. "Glad you're okay?" She lingered, fidgeting with her sleeve. "I heard about your condition. Is there anything I can do?" "I'll manage," Jack said, his voice flat. He'd never been good at accepting help. Pride was all he had left some days. Sarah didn't push, but she returned the next day, bringing a homemade casserole and a coloring book for Lily. Over the following week, she became a quiet presence, chatting with Lily about school, easing the tension in the room. Jack watched uneasy. There was something familiar about her, though he couldn't place it. One evening, as Sarah reached for her coat, her purse tipped over, spilling its contents across the floor. Lily darted to help, picking up a faded photograph. Her eyes widened. "Dad, look, this is me." Jack took the picture, his breath catching. It showed a baby Lily cradled by a woman with blonde hair, Sarah. His hands trembled as memories flooded back. The fights, the tears, the night she walked out without a word. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. Sarah's face crumpled. "I'm Lily's mother." The room tilted. Lily stared, confused, while Jack's mind raced through years of pain. "You left us," he said, each word a jagged edge. "You abandoned her." "I was 22, Jack," Sarah said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was scared, lost. I thought you'd be better off without me. I've regretted it every day since." Lily's voice broke the silence. "Mom?" She stepped back, clutching the photo. "Why didn't you come back?" "I wanted to," Sarah said, her voice breaking. "But I didn't know how. Then Jack saved me, and I realized it was my chance to make things right." Jack's chest ached, not just from his condition, but from the shock of it all. "Get out," he said quietly. Sarah nodded and left, her sobs echoing down the hall. That night, Jack lay awake, wrestling with the past. He'd built a wall around his heart after Sarah left, vowing to protect Lily from more hurt. But now, staring at his daughter's sleeping form, he saw her confusion, her longing. Could he deny her a mother again? The next morning, the hospital social worker delivered more bad news. Without funds, surgery was off the table. Jack sank into the bed, hopelessness pressing down like a weight. Then Sarah returned, her eyes red but resolute. "I've been talking to people," she said. "I can pay for your surgery." Jack stared at her. "Why?" "Because you're Lily's father and you saved my life," she said. "And because it's my fault you've been alone all this time. Let me do this." Pride battled with necessity. He thought of Lily, her future, her smile. "Okay," he said finally, the word tasting bitter but right. As Jack was prepped for surgery, he glimpsed the waiting room through the glass doors. It was packed. Diner regulars, neighbors, even the grumpy old mechanic from down the street. They held signs, "Get well, Jack," and "Elmwood stands together." His throat tightened. He hadn't realized how many cared. The surgery went smoothly, and in the weeks that followed, Elmwood didn't let up. A fundraiser filled the town square, the air alive with laughter, music, and the clink of coins in a donation jar. Pies lined tables, their sweet aroma mingling with the crisp fall breeze. Kids ran with balloons, and a banner fluttered overhead, painted in Lily's messy handwriting. They raised enough not just for medical bills, but for a college fund for Lily. Jack watched from a folding chair, still weak but mending, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the blanket over his knees. Sarah stayed too, helping with Lily's homework, cooking dinners that filled their small house with the scent of garlic and hope. It wasn't perfect, Jack and Sarah argued, old wounds flaring, but they kept going, for Lily. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they sat on the porch together. Lily nestled between them, her laughter ringing out as she told a story about school. "Are we going to be okay, Dad?" she asked, looking up at him. Jack ruffled her hair, meeting Sarah's gaze. "Yeah, kiddo, I think we are." "Together?" Sarah asked softly. Jack took a deep breath, the weight of years lifting just a little. one step at a time. As the stars emerged, twinkling against the vast night, Jack felt a quiet peace settle in. His single act of bravery had sparked a chain of kindness, Sarah's redemption, Elmwood's embrace, that stitched their broken family back together. And as he watched Lily giggle with her mother, he understood that sometimes the truest strength lies not in standing alone, but in letting others stand with you.